Hey, everybody. Well, today, Jameis Winston was named the starter for the Cleveland Browns through the rest of the season. Where we are, how you guys doing, everybody? This is Monday, November 11th, 2024. The Browns are coming out of bye week. Prior to the bye week, they lost in unfortunate fashion to the San Diego Chargers after upsetting the Baltimore Ravens in a game for the ages that saw Jameis Winston throw for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. But Ken Dorsey, the Ravens conqueror of offensive coordinators, turned into the GOAT in a bad way with respect to the Chargers because Dorsey used essentially the same game plan that he crafted for the Ravens against the Chargers. The difference, where the Ravens were not afraid to play man for man, the Chargers played zone. They kept everything in front of them, eyes up. Not surprisingly, the interceptions came because if you take a look at game clips, one thing you'll see constant among Browns offensive players is a look of confusion. They expected another type of defense other than what the Chargers ran. They completely taken by surprise. But toward the fourth quarter and into the fourth quarter, they really got it together and scored a touchdown on a really, really, really awesome catch by Cedric Tillman, tippy toes in the end zone from Jameis Winston for approximately 39 yards out, and put an exclamation point on a possible future. The Browns were driven to at least get a touchdown out of the deal. They were getting no help. Browns offense was getting no help from its defense, which not only gave up touchdowns, but let's face it, gave up touchdowns a long variety. 45 yards here, 66 yards there, and seemingly in situations that could have been easily avoided had the Browns put in the right defensive game plan. The point of the matter is the Browns coaches did not have the Browns players prepared for what the San Diego Chargers were throwing out. And it really calls into question the use of analytics, I might add. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Here's what Kevin Stefanski said today when asked about Jameis Winston as the starter. Okay, stop right there. So you heard that, right? And you heard what Stefanski said about the fact that Jameis Winston is going to be a starter for the Browns for the foreseeable future. In other words, the entire season. And later, Mary Kay Cabot, what was used to be called the Cleveland Plain Dealer, I believe still is, said that has been consistently pushing the idea that Dorian Thompson-Robinson should get a start over Jameis Winston. She says because he's younger. That's not the reason. You know what the real reason is? The real reason is that, and not just her, but a number of people that comprise the Browns weekly media group are acting as if they really are tired of hearing Jameis Winston talk about the Lord. So guess what? They're going to get Jameis Winston talking about the Lord for the entire rest That's right, for the entire rest of the season. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let me give you a taste of what I'm talking about, because it's very important to understand the context of this. Jameis Winston is a man who has long believed in the Lord Jesus Christ, as do his parents. And here's a famous clip from CBS News, and Outkit posted it as it is. See this right here, and the headline reads, "This is the day the Lord has made. I'll be glad and rejoice in it." Jameis Winston. He said that before the game, and Jameis was poised for a spiritual breakout. Okay, a game that would really reset his place in the league. And really, that's what happened. But listen to what he said before CBS. Look at that. This is the day that the Lord has made. I'll be glad and rejoice in it. He was poised, fixed, and focused to ball out, and that's precisely what he did. And afterward, he professed his belief in the Lord, and he never stopped doing it. He didn't stop saying that he was of belief and focus even after the loss to the Chargers. And you can tell there are people in the media that I'm talking about. I'm media too, but I don't obviously think as they do, who just wanted to say, well, do you believe in God now? And the answer is yes, because belief in the Lord is not, I believe in the Lord because I'm winning. Belief in the Lord has nothing to do with that. Belief in the Lord is about a spiritual center that allows you to enjoy the moment, take advantage of the moment, but then learn from the moment, regardless of how it goes in the one-loss category. What happens is you have the opportunity. And note, he prayed for the opportunity. Now, there was part of Jameis that spiritually was wondering what was going on, why it didn't come out a certain way, but I have a simple answer. Ken Dorsey's game plan was awful. It was just completely awful. Okay? Awful. But what the media is responding to now is all of a sudden Dorian Thompson-Robinson came up after Jameis threw 3 interceptions. Well, Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions, but you didn't find anybody calling for him to be benched. Think about that. You would say, well, it's because the Lions won. Well, because the Lions defense did what it was supposed to do. Why didn't anybody call for the Browns defensive coordinator to be fired? All right, after the Chargers game. Okay? They don't want Jameis and his speeches and everything else. That's horrible. But you know who does want it? The players. So Jameis Winston's rise has been a constant tale of support from players against a media and a coaching establishment that would rather not see this talented black quarterback on the field playing in a traditional white style. In other words, as a passer, as opposed to a runner. Because if he can run, it's an excuse. Well, he's faster and it's genetic and everything else. But when it comes to throwing and knowing where to go with the ball, but then what if you take advantage of Jameis Winston's desire to make his bosses happy, which is natural. Everybody wants to make their boss happy because that's why you keep a job, right? What if your boss puts you in bad situations to make you screw up? You heard what I said. Jameis has been through that situation more often than not. And it's tragic. What we now have, however, is a media that is comprised of people who call themselves journalists. They're not journalists. They're really opinion people. I saw Mary Kay Cabot the other day on one of the YouTube videos, and she was saying, well, there he is again. I expect to hear some analysis of what happened that would cause 3 interceptions. And she says, well, he's slinging it all over the field. Well, he wasn't slinging it all over the field. For example, in one case, it was quite obvious that Ken Dorsey uses an option pattern system, and the receiver broke to the left, whereas Jameis threw to the right. That's a miscommunication. But this person who calls themselves a journalist doesn't do us respect by actually digging to find out what happened. She just offers her opinion. I can get any Maria, Josephina, or Gail to offer their football opinions today and stick them on video or television and have them write a post on, hey, NFL News by Zinni62. Okay? So we don't have journalists anymore. We have these opinion people who call themselves journalists and then try to craft a future for players in a sport that the people that call themselves journalists don't understand and don't even know. Because if they did, they would have drawn up their own plays. They would have their own offensive playbooks. They would be able to talk strategy at a deep technical level, but they don't do that. Now, if you're saying to me it's because they want to represent what the fan thinks, good. Then go out and get another fan. Go out and get a real fan. Okay? What they're doing is awful. And what they're trying to do is stop Jameis Winston from speaking about the Lord, about his stated belief in God. Listen to this, for example, from before the Ravens game got started. Now note that she didn't say anything about the Lord. You note that? He's talking about the Lord. She is careful not to repeat the Lord. Careful not to repeat Jesus. Look at this. I mean, this is right in our faces, folks. Look at this. He said it 3 times. Now she never says it. She says the message is clear, guys. But she didn't say the message is clear. And she's got an earpiece where the producer's telling her, don't mention the Lord, don't mention the Lord, don't mention the Lord. Why else would someone do that? Why do people fear a belief in God? Our country is formed around the Lord. The United States of America, in God we trust. That's what it says on the quarter. In God we trust. I trust God. You trust God. Is it that the media doesn't trust God? You can't be selectively objective. And yet, that's what the media tries to be. It's not even, it's selective for a very sinister purpose to push one particular point of view. It's not truly objective. And that's why I say they're just a bunch of bloggers. At least I call myself a blogger. All right? And they kept pushing this whole matter of, of, of Dorian Thompson Robinson basically replacing Jameis, during this. And I want you to listen to a little bit more of this, okay? That was the start right here. Okay, so we went here. See, any thought at all to handing it over? Always, wanted to hand it over to Dorian. Okay, she's been pushing Dorian. Here's more. Yeah, he's not going to give away his game plan. It's ridiculous. Talking about Nick Chubb's recovery. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're getting, you know, they're still trying to push. Well, different people asking about different players at this point, but there was one person again. I said Mary Kay Cabot, who was pushing DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson again. All right, and but if you look at social media, look at Twitter, there are others too, with the Athletic, for example, that were doing it, and another publication. So they didn't get their wish. Jameis Winston is a starter. Jameis Winston is a starter, quote, for the foreseeable future. The foreseeable future is the season. And I'm excited to see what the Browns do and really encourage Ken Dorsey to put a different game plan up this time that's tailored to what the Saints are doing rather than what they did before the bye week. All right, subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube here, and then bookmark NFL News by Zenny62.com. That ends this broadcast.